challenges are. We thought today we'd mix it up a little bit. We want to have a bit of fun. It is the end of the day, and it's been an awesome day. So we thought we did want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're told AI is the new normal. I wasn't looking at anybody, I promise. We've told that, look, AI is the new normal. And it's going to help us be faster. It's the answer to everything. But is it really? You know, we have seen some ugly sides of AI. Everybody's read about them in the press, from confidential data leaks to biased algorithms that are making calls that no human could defend. We're going to ask some uncomfortable questions today, but we do want a healthy debate. So we're going to make this a little bit different. We're going to pose a few ethical dilemmas. It will be a bit of a game show approach, so you will get the bell if we don't like what you're saying. No, that's not true. We do want a bit of a debate. You come from very different industries, which is awesome. Give us your experience. That doesn't mean you're all going to agree. So let's see how we go. So, question number 1, the ugly truth. So, accountability at AI, speed and scale, what does that look like? If we rely on AI outputs delivered at speed and scale beyond our ability to verify as a human, how do we define accountability in that context? How do we define who is accountable for errors that might pop up? Ian, how about you kick us off?
Sure, great question. All AI, all digital tools, they amplify, they accelerate. AI also will adapt. These days it'll translate, interpolate, and hallucinate. And if we want to have responsibility in that loop, AI operates at gigahertz speed. We don't. We operate at best at sort of a few hertz. And if you put that into the hands of someone who is actually a judge deciding something like reasonable, there are something like 12 to 15 orders of magnitude difference between CPU rate and court rate. And maybe it's more like 18 or 19 orders of magnitude. So the issue really is it depends how much it matters. So if it's important, if it's really important that we put a human in the loop, we have to stop the process, we have to break the process, or we have to surface something to say, here is a point you need to make a decision, or you need to make a judgment call. And if that's done if it's done at the rate that's well beyond human capability, we have the machine that goes ping problem, where you just ignore it. Or you rush around like a mad thing and saying, yes, I'll have to keep accepting everything the AI is saying. So it really depends a lot on how much it matters, how important the result is. And we also have to be really careful about making sure that the right person with the right qualifications, with the right confidence and competence and capability can say, actually, yes, machine says yes, I agree, or you know what, I don't agree. So it really matters, and we really need to think about the potential consequences of the use of the things that come from AI and work out just how much we need to ensure that someone's ready, able, and capable of making a decision. Sometimes it doesn't matter, let the machine run. Very often, though, it does, so it's important to put that person in a position where they can make a call.
Bryant, this must be very relevant to you in the world of the legal precedent and all that kind of thing. What's your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're wanting some disagreement, but I do largely...
Off you go.
I do largely agree with Ian. I think particularly law firms, which is where I come from, we are very risk averse, and we have certain, ethical and, responsibilities that are regulated by the bars. I mean, one of the things that we've really seen increasingly happen is that the bar associations in the US, for example, the SRA in the UK, and I'm sure many others, have a requirement for technical competency from our lawyers. So there is an expectation that our lawyers are responsible. So I think we really do need human input. We need human oversight. It's important that when we're prompting AI, that we're doing that in a very thoughtful and methodical way, and that we have a process in place to validate the work that we're doing in the output. We've seen some court cases already. There's one in particular. I'm sure many of you will have been familiar with what happened in the U.S. In the Southern District of New York. Unfortunately, a lawyer decided to use ChatGPT to write a brief. He wrote the brief, he filed the brief. Opposing counsel started reviewing, and all of the case law, all of the citations in the brief had been made up. They were not real. And so, of course, he was sanctioned by the court. We've seen a couple of those instances happening. In terms of large-scale document review in the e-discovery space, there is no precedent yet, so we've not seen anything in terms of courts making a ruling around the use of generative AI in the document review space, although I tell people I think we're on the precipice of sort of where we were 10 or 15 years ago with the use of TAR, machine learning, CAL, if you will. And because we put so much work into validation, methodology, I think we're going to be much more quickly adopting or agreeing the use of generative AI in that space. But in short, I do think human input is important.
So John, aren't we just going to automate all of that decision making and we don't have to have these pesky humans?
I say, look, I think this question is going to be boring because I do agree that I think any team or organisation that builds AI solutions or adopts them is fully accountable for what you do with AI. Whether that's traditional machine learning or Gen AI, it's the same. It's like any other technology, really. You're really accountable for what you do internally and how you service your customers. But if I flip that around a little bit, for me, it's not really about accountability. It's about managing risk overall. If you look at AI solutions and agentic AI, you're orchestrating a number of agents in a process, or they're running autonomously to basically sort out a problem or a function. And there are a lot of technical approaches and processes to manage your risk. You can use RAG, you can use reasoning loops, you can put guardrails, monitoring. So for me, I think everyone in the organisation is accountable, but it's really up to everyone to really look at the risks and manage those risks by using different tools. I think we mentioned hallucination before as well. This is an interesting perspective, not that everyone would agree, but hallucination, if you know what a language model is not a defect or an error. Large language models are designed to provide output, responses, generate data. So if you understand what you're working with, you know how to control it and how to manage it. So, I think it's really important that people really understand what a large language model does and why it's created.
So in a corporate world, how do you get that oversight where you scale that up and you're processing huge amounts of data?
Yeah, we still have a human oversight. I think that's definitely needed, obviously, at the points that matter. I think you definitely need to think about, do you really need or a touch point for a human in every part of the process like we have today? I think a lot of the processes, whether in insurance or financial services, are very linear in process. And when you start looking at it from an AI-first perspective, it doesn't become linear. You probably miss out 5-6 steps in the process. You can automate. We definitely feel we need human oversight, but like Ian said, at the points that really matter where there's judgment required, I think that's what we aim to do.
Oh, we've got the bell. We've got the bell. All right. Ethical dilemma, number 2. The bad, agility without control. So, look, there's widespread use of consumer AI by our employees. If you don't think so, then I think you're kidding yourselves if you think your people aren't already using it. So have we already lost control of our data? Have we lost control of our systems? And not to mention the biases that we're introducing in all those consumer tools. What do you think, Bryant? Do you want to kick us off?
Lost control, I'm not sure if we've totally lost control. I think that we have to be really careful and thoughtful about how AI is being deployed. We are advising, so as a law firm, we are advising lots of our clients on AI deployments and across various parts of their business. Our employees are going to use AI. And so I think it's better for us to properly train, to have policies in place around what you can and cannot do, and make sure that we're really training our employees on best practices. For a corporate client, we talk to them about the risks of not doing that, because then you have employees taking data that belongs to the company or customers or other employees and putting it places that you may not be able to control, into tools and solutions that you may not understand where the data is going. And there are data privacy and security and all sorts of risks associated with that. So I think it's going to happen. You know, the tools are out there, and many tools are widely available in the market. So it's really about how we you know, train our employees and making sure that we've got the right policies and procedures in place.
So John, how's your shadow AI going over there in the corporate world?
Oh, look, the CIO's not here, so it's good to talk about shadow IT. I'd have to kind of concur with Bryant just said to some degree. I think firstly, like from my perspective, you need to enable our people to use AI. It's not going away. You need to educate them, give them the tools to do their jobs better, get better outcomes for our customers. So look, if I give you a real life example, like obviously there are free public tools out there like GPT or Perplexity or Gemini. In Zurich, we want everyone to be able to harness the power of AI, so we create our own version of GPT. It's called ZuriChat. We use 3 foundational models for different processes and functions that our staff want to use it for, but obviously it's grounded. We know what they're using it for, we monitor it. We've got a assurance framework that we follow for any solution that we build or adopt, so we're trying to empower our people. I think obviously, yeah, staff do use tools now and again, not that they should, it's against policy. But it's going to happen. But I think a core thing also is to manage data governance. Like, it all comes down to data as well. So if you follow the right governance processes, you have the right foundations in place, the right information security in place, I think at least you've got a certain level of comfort to some degree that people are doing the right thing.
It's all sounding very easy. Ian, what do you think?
Just a little bit of history in New South Wales. So we developed in New South Wales government an AI assurance framework that said AI of all types is a use of data. It produces data products, and your considerations need to be around how much control you put around those data products. An alert, an alarm, a decision, an action, an insight. These are all data products, and you can build controls around them. When you look at the ethical issues, it's really hard to map an ethical principle down to, well, what do I do with my data? What's the consequence of including or not including this minority group? What are the consequences of using data of this quality versus that? And we've been building up this way of thinking about AI as a use of data, think about data products and control, think about algorithmic issues, think about data issues. Here are the considerations. And that was taking us in a good direction, made mandatory as of March 2022, applied across New South Wales from transport to education to health to police. Generative AI came along and people lost their minds. They absolutely went crazy. This thing fell from heaven. Suddenly you could make pictures of sunflowers wearing sunglasses and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And people forgot they were dealing with AI. And clearly not in New South Wales government, people uploaded all of this confidential data. They just went nuts and did all the things they shouldn't do, saying we have no guidance for how to engage with AI, forgetting that there are privacy policies and cybersecurity policies and appropriate use policies. So the part of the challenge was these incredibly powerful tools were just given to people and you could do stuff really simply. And it's a bit like giving everybody in your household access to really powerful power tools and then coming home and wondering why you've got a new door that you didn't expect to have, why your kitchen's been cut in half.
Somebody lost a finger.
For example, and you think, why would you do it? And it's so easy to have such incredible impact with these really powerful tools, which kind of sort of do something interesting with practically no effort. The problem, have we lost control? I think we're beginning to understand that you shouldn't just apply power tools to your kitchen and expect a good outcome. You really do need to think about appropriate use. Learn something about how to use the power tool. And data is the equivalent of electricity in the best analogy I can think of. Also put effort into getting the data right so you've got the right quality data for the right applications that you're thinking about for your right AI. But very few people want to talk about the data conversation and going back to, is it fit for the purpose I want to use it for? A lot of people just want to take a bandsaw to their kitchen or cut a new hole in the wall. That's the problem. And bringing people back to, let's go back to the basic principles of appropriate use, potential harms, mitigation of harms, and thinking about the controls you need to put in place at the different stages of the product, algorithm, and data part. That's when we start to regain a sense of appropriate use of these really powerful tools.
And I just want to add to, because I love what you just said. Totally agree. And I think one thing that we've seen a lot in the past from our clients as we talk about deployment of different solutions is, I just want to get some technology. But what do you want it for? What's the problem that you're trying to solve? And so I think we always say to clients, step back and think first about what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then think about the right solution to do that. Because right now, with this whole evolution of AI and its advent of AI, everyone wants to just get some. But what's the solution that you're looking to have? What are you trying to accomplish? And I think thinking about that also will go a long way.
Just to add to that, I think obviously governance is really important, but we've been focused on structured data for God knows how long. I think it's really important to focus on unstructured data and how you govern that. Obviously, Zurich, we use Nuix, so we're going through that journey. We use Nuix from a data governance perspective more than e-discovery to manage privacy, PII across your whole landscape. So I think people really need to think about how are you managing your unstructured data, which is much more harder to manage than structured data.
Yeah, we've been given the bell. It's the bell. Okay, last question. This is about the good, the potential. So I guess my provocation is, are we being too cautious? So while we sit here and debate ethics and all goodness things, some businesses are racing ahead to competitive advantage. So John, how do you think about that in the corporate world?
Yeah, I might just first off by say we're like Nuix. We're embracing the potential and capability of AI across the whole organisation, locally and globally. We want to use it for good. So we are definitely progressing ahead with AI. We went on the same journey like everyone else did 2 years ago, experimenting, creating chatbots and all this stuff like that. We've already embarked on agentic AI. We think it's going to revolutionise not just automating processes. I think that's a really simple thing to do. We want to reimagine what it looks like to provide services with an AI-first mindset. So we're very optimistic about AI in general. We also feel like organisations need to really focus on capability. If I give you an example, in insurance we use so much unstructured data. I know lots of other law firms do as well, but we use unstructured data from both in the life insurance sector and the commercial general insurance sector. Lots of documentation. I mean, way too much, but lots. If you can use AI to structure that at scale, because every single engagement channel you have with your customers and your partners, that's a really powerful capability that will give you competitive advantage, because once you do that, then what you use it for, because the data gets structured, is just mind-blowing. So we are definitely moving ahead with AI, obviously cautiously with the right guardrails, but we think that there's lots of benefits to be gained.
The lawyer in the room, are we being too cautious?
No, I mean, same. We are embracing technology, and I think it's really important too. Our clients are demanding it. Our corporate clients are saying, we want you to do things faster, cheaper, more efficiently. RFPs that are coming to us now, almost every single one of them have, a question around what are we doing to leverage AI to impact the way in which we deliver legal services. And so we're absolutely embracing that. I would say, in the area of e-discovery, for example, we are seeing a huge impact in the use of AI in things like first-level document review, massive savings. That's making a huge impact. Things like helping to summarize deposition transcripts, automate building chronologies. Those sorts of things are making a huge impact in terms of speed, efficiency, and cost savings. Places where we're cautious, the courts do not want us submitting witness statements that have been generated by AI or AI used to draft them. So those kinds of things are a no-no. But we are looking at ways to deploy AI in lots of things that we do. Even in the transactional space, we've seen great improvements in doing due diligence, using solutions designed to help with contract analysis. So yes, we are pressing forward cautiously, but no, I don't think we're going too fast yet.
And you see a whole range of different industries. What do you think?
If I just cast my mind back just again to New South Wales government, the catchphrase we used was deliberate but cautious. So we will deliberately lean into use of AI, but we'll do it cautiously. And then across a whole range of different applications, again, from education to transport to health to police to various different areas, there was this concept of another lens was thinking about how personal is the information or the data we're using, how sensitive in terms of subject, what are the potential harms that could come from the product we create, alert, alarm, decision, action, insight, or report or image. And building different ways of identifying, again, how cautious we need to be, how careful we need to be based on how important the result was and the potential for harm, and irreversible harm at that, all the way through to we're organising someone's calendar appointments, and that's actually not a terribly harmful activity, depending on exactly what the context is. So it's different, really different in different environments. So context really matters and the potential harm really matters. So in some areas we're saying go for it, explore process automation and then identify through that process automation what your processes actually are as opposed to what you think they are. Really fantastic approach to use. If you're looking for someone holding a mobile phone and are looking to issue a fine on the back of that using an algorithm to detect that from an image, that's really important to get that right. So it must be reviewed by a human being who's competent and capable and has the time to say, actually, I'm not sure, I need to go back and look again. Since leaving New South Wales government, we looked at a whole range of different sectors, and it's really different. The use of AI is not evenly distributed across organisations. Some organisations are terrified, absolutely terrified. And it has to do with either looking at bad examples. There was a terrible example recently last year of Woolworths taking AI from a little project and scaling it up across their organisation, not really understanding that the risks and challenges of a little project versus an enterprise-wide project versus a really broadly delivered project are really quite different. Those risk profiles and potential harms are really different versus other organisations who are screaming ahead because what they do has less impact on people, has less impact on people's sense of worth or people's sense of being optimised by an algorithm. So the answer really is it depends. How's that for a consultant answer? It depends. And context really matters, and the potential impact and harm really matters, and spending a lot more time thinking during the piloting phase and the scaling phases about really what could go wrong, not just the simple things, but really thinking through those differences of little project with happy, engaged people, enterprise-wide where people are having it sort of done to them versus whole of society impact where some people may really disagree with the use of AI. Those are really different risk profiles.
So a quick challenge to the group. Kelly's challenge to us this morning was to use AI to transform, not just to make us a little bit better. Anybody shout out an example of where they've seen a really good example of it really transforming?
Oh, look, without showing too much, look, I'd say...
Zurich?
No. I do agree with Kelly. Like, I think to transform using AI, it's a mindset, it's a people thing as well. It's not just a technology. Especially look at how you're looking at even, I'm just trying to think, I'll kind of think out there, like say underwriting process for insurance companies. To do that in an AI-first way, you need to use SMEs and knowledge and underwriters to get the best value. And I think if it becomes a technology project, you'll never get that. I think you need to have the harmony between the business and data scientists and technology to get that. But I haven't seen it locally that I've heard of to date. We're definitely on the journey like many other companies to do that, but it's a very difficult thing to do in practice.
Putting the hard yards in.
I mean, I think that absolutely the potential is there. And forgive me, I can't remember who said it this morning, but I recall this story of a bank and trying to, improve a solution with AI, and then they put this process in place where a person was checking everything, and then it became more of a process.
It was Kelly, I think.
Yes. It was a good story, Kelly, if you're still here. But the point is, so I think that is happening a lot. So I'm not sure that I would say transformative. I will say in the document review space, in disclosure, we are seeing a massive impact. If deployed correctly, we are seeing a huge decrease in the amount of man hours required to do that. And particularly in the legal context, disclosure is always the most expensive part of any litigation or investigation, and clients do not want to spend that money. They want to get those costs down. So I would say that has probably been transformative, but still in process.
So there are real industry sectors which have been transformed. Autonomous vehicles is an area. Drones and large mining equipment and things like that. Really, no one in their right mind would contemplate going into the mining sector without a very highly automated force. But areas where things really are changing dramatically, education is I think, the greatest example. Educators and education systems are really struggling to work out how to do the process of education where people have access to open source forms of AI. And can beat any assignment task and beat any exam task in an open environment. So rethinking how that works is really quite important. I met recently a friend from Finland who popped out to Australia who was a 5-year grad doing software development. And he said, now, every bit of code that he writes, he specifies to an algorithm. It writes the code for him, and it comes back, he checks it and says, that's pretty good. And my question was, then what do young grads do? What do grads immediately just graduated from university in software development, what are they doing? And he said, actually, I don't know. So there are areas which are really in the process of being transformed. And I think the more we think about discovery, research, and educational areas, I think they are going to absolutely crumble from their traditional ways of doing things as AI becomes more and more capable of doing intern level type activities or grad level type activities. So it's happening.
Wow, well, that's a good thought provocation to leave us with. I think perhaps just we've got just a couple of minutes. If you could just what's the one thing you want the audience to kind of take away from here? What's your kind of final thoughts you want to share? Who wants to start us off? Ian.
So the first thing is that there are many, many types of AI. Generative AI is a recent phenomenon. AI has a 70-year history. There are lots and lots of really good types of AI that you could think about using in your workplace. Process automation, predictors, classifiers, what-if scenario planners, digital twin related. They're all available, long history. The second thing is there are some really good standards, and I mean international ISO, IEC standards around data, governance, AI, algorithmic bias, that you can, even if you never read a standard, which would be kind of sad, if you never read one, you should know they exist.
That's the challenge for the audience, your homework.
And your vendors should be aware of these standards. And finally, it's a really good idea to experiment, but understand what safe experimentation is so you can get a sense of what AI can actually do.
Awesome, Bryant.
I would say, from a law firm perspective, a lot of people are always saying, oh, is my job at risk? Like, what's going to happen? And I think that for the people in this room who are interested in technology, who are using tools and solutions like Nuix and all the other solutions on the market, I actually think there is a whole lot of opportunity because I think those jobs are going to change. I think people that used to just do document review are going to do things in a different way, and there is an opportunity to learn how to use AI correctly, ethically, and to help to develop processes and procedures around how we validate and how we use the tools going forward. So I think that for those of us in the technology space, there's a lot of opportunity. So I would say embrace it.
It's exciting times. John?
Yeah, I'd say my comments to the audience would be, learn about it, lean in and learn about AI. You don't have to be an engineer to be able to be a really good, I'd say, a prompter. So as we talked about this morning, I think it's really important for everyone to learn about it. You can gain the skills. You don't have to code anything these days to create a solution using AI. So if you haven't really embarked using tools or read about it or got your hands dirty, I really say you should. To be really honest, the best prompter I've seen is not an engineer. It's someone that's got the imagination, that can articulate the problem and really write what they need. And so all of us can do that. So I really encourage everyone to really get your hands dirty and learn AI.
Fantastic, thank you. I think you've left us with some thoughts. Is the bigger risk to move too fast or to move too slow? But either way, I really appreciate your thoughts this afternoon. Thank you for everybody. Could thank our esteemed panel.